Gaza Writes Back. It's a book of short stories written by young Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. The stories were originally written in English, and the book was published in America and worldwide, and was translated into 5 languages. One of them is Italian. Gaza Writes Back is a very important book of literature, of art, that comes from a place that has been occupied for decades, a place that has been under oppression and occupation for more than 60 years. Gaza Writes Back tells the stories of hope, of suffering, of pain, of fear, the stories that came after the war that Israel waged on Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The book tells these stories of the little kids, of the university students, of the lovers, of the students, of the fathers and the mothers who want to live a decent life, who struggle and survive to bring food, to continue their education and to seek medical treatment. The idea behind the book came exactly after the first Israeli war in Gaza, almost 6 years ago, when the war ended after hundreds of people were killed and injured, many of them children, after hundreds of houses were destroyed. I realized that so many of my students were fed up, were frustrated, were very angry, were very sad because for weeks and weeks Israel bombarded the Palestinians, killed and destroyed with no one doing anything to stop the crimes, to end the Israeli crimes and the human rights violations. And I wanted to do something about this as a lecturer at the Islamic University. I wanted them to feel normal again, which is, it's not easy, but I wanted them to release their anger in something creative, where they can feel productive, where they can feel fruitful, where they can feel that they're doing something not only to themselves, but also to their society as Palestinians and to humanity in general. Because stories written in English reach out to people around the world. The messages of hope, the messages of struggle, the messages of resistance can reach those people. And more important probably than reading these stories and probably enjoying these stories with whatever they have, what comes after the stories. The feedback we've got from people who read the stories in Gaza Writes Back was really, really amazing, wonderful. It influenced us, it improved us in so many ways, because people were reading the stories and contacting us and telling us how the stories changed them, how the stories made them want to work harder for peace, for justice in Palestine and elsewhere in the world. The stories in Gaza Writes Back push people to be more practical, to be more active, working for peace and working for justice, not only for Palestinians, but everywhere. And that's why I wanted the stories to be fiction. This kind of fiction is realistic fiction because the stories are based in reality, the reality we live here as Palestinians, whether in Gaza or the West Bank or Jerusalem or the diaspora. The fact that these stories are fiction gives them a universal appeal, makes them transcend time and place. And that's why the stories communicate with Muslims, non-Muslims, with Arabs, non-Arabs, with Christians, with Jews, with people who believe in God and people who don't believe in God, people who know about Palestine and people who don't know about Palestine. And in my opinion, that's why Gaza Writes Back is appealing to everybody, and that's why it was translated into almost five languages.
You are now stuck in the Gaza Strip, even if you have a PhD in Malaysia. What is the situation at the Rafah border?
Last summer, the war started when I was in Malaysia. I couldn't come back because the Rafah border was closed. I couldn't come back to be with my wife, my kids, my parents, and my brothers and sisters and my friends to try to do something to help. For 51 days, I had to endure the horrible, horrible news and destruction of the Gaza Strip. And in the war, because I live in Shuja'iyya, one of the areas that was really bombarded and devastated by, almost wiped out by the Israeli aggression. My house was destroyed. So many of my relatives were killed, including my own brother. The family house was destroyed. I had to go back to put my PhD studies on hold and go back to be with my parents, to be with my kids and my wife and my relatives, to help them in a way or another. And 4 months after that, I wanted to go back to Malaysia to continue my PhD because I'm almost done. I only need probably 6 months or so. It was very difficult. The Rafah border has never been this bad. The situation in Gaza has never been this bad. Israel has tightened the siege in so many ways. The situation is a lot worse than for so many people. The war was a lot better than now, because during the war, people pay attention, people see the destruction. But now nobody sees the destruction because Israel is strangling us, suffocating us, killing us very slowly. And what makes it very, even more horrible, what makes us as Palestinians very sad in Gaza here is that Egypt is not helping. Egypt is, in a way or another, making the situation difficult. As Palestinians, we understand the very sensitive situation in Egypt, and especially in Sinai. But we have the right as Palestinians to travel. We have the right, it's a basic human right. We want to travel. We want to go seek education. We want to go seek medical treatment. People want to go out and do business. In 2015, Rafah was only open in the past 10 months or so. Rafah was only open for 20 days. It's horrible. It's crazy. It's crazy on so many levels. When only, for example, 5,000 people managed to travel in 10 months, where these 5,000 people should be able to travel every day or every week maximum. So I was sent back by the Egyptians twice, and I'm now stuck here in Gaza. I'm in so many ways I'm being terrorized. In my heart deep, I'm afraid that the 3 years of hard work for my PhD because I am now on unpaid leave. I don't take a salary now. I'm waiting for the border. I want to go back, continue my education. I'm afraid that I will not be able to do so. And I'm afraid that I wasted 3 or 4 years of my life in vain, because Egypt doesn't want us to travel through Rafah, and at the same time Israel does not allow so many people to travel.
Do you think literature is a form of resistance in Palestine?
In most of what Palestinians write can go under this category, literature of resistance, in which they resist the oppressive occupation, the fact that the land is occupied, the fact that intruders, foreigners from around the world come to Palestine, control every aspect of their lives. Palestinians, especially the young ones, write about their daily life experiences as people living under occupation, exactly like people wrote about life during the Nazi occupation of parts of Europe, or Africans or people in Asia or in India. The literature is classified resistance because it aims to support and promote the struggle of the indigenous native people, give them hope to survive, to resist, to continue, to never give up, to teach them lessons. And it is a resistance literature because it exposes the atrocities and the crimes of the occupation. It shows the world in ways that are different from news, where people are not numbers, people are not statistics, where people have lives, have their own stories, have their own hopes and fears and concerns and despair. So in this sense, I classify what most young people write in Palestine as resistance literature. And yes, I do believe that resistance literature is very important, because it is the continuation of what people has been writing. a continuation of what people throughout time and space were writing to resist either a foreign oppressive occupation or to resist internal oppression, because some of the stories in Gaza Writes Back are not only about the Israeli occupation, they are about the political division, the social classes, the class division inside the society, the Palestinian society itself. So this kind of literature resists the foreign occupation by exposing it, and at the same time it resists the internal oppression imposed by people in the high classes, politicians, the aging leadership that is controlling our life.
You speak about Italian writer Luigi Pirandello in your introduction. Could you tell us why did you like this novel, short story by Luigi Pirandello called The War?
I've always felt, as Palestinians, I think so many Palestinians agree with me that in a way or another, we were close to Italy than probably any other area in Europe. So many Palestinians, especially in Gaza, support Italy in the World Cup, for example, or even when they play in Europe. And we watch Inter Milan and Juventus and those. So it's sports, and like I said before, it could be also the food. We love Italian food here. But other than this, Italian literature is very appealing to me as a teacher of literature. I always loved to read Dante and the Divine Comedy, and even Petrarch's sonnets appeal to us, and we teach them in our classes how Petrarch was the origin of, in a way or another, this sonnet, this very amazing love poem that the English learned from Italy and started imitating. The story by Luigi Pirandello was and is still a main story in my short story courses that I teach to my students. And sometimes when I teach the story, I remove the name of the writer. I don't want the students to think that this is written by a foreigner. And when they read the story, I ask them to guess who the writer is, and most of them think this is a Palestinian writer. This could be Ghassan Kanafani. There's a similarity, even how the old people feel, the people on the train, how the man, the old woman, they're suffering. It's almost the same. So, and then I tell them this is by an Italian writer, and they're surprised. And then we move to talk about how universal themes of war, of hope, of despair, of death and life and clinging to life is something that we share, especially with people who have been through similar experiences. So that's why we like this particular story by Luigi Pirandello, because it appeals to us, it talks to us as Palestinians, even if he has never been to Palestine, he has never been among us here, but he lived the experience of what it means to be humiliated, what it means to suffer, what it means to have people die because they have to fight for their rights. The fact that Gaza Writes Back is translating into Japanese, Turkish, Malay, Bengali, and Italian, and hopefully more other languages, probably Spanish, French, or Portuguese or something, brings all people from all backgrounds and all areas together. And this is what literature is doing, and this is what we Palestinians are doing. We want all the people to stand together, to unite, to fight for justice, to fight against oppression, to join the Palestinian cause, to join BDS, to boycott Israel in a very academic, in a very creative way, in a very non-violent way, where we, as Palestinians, as free people around the world, we can put an end to this occupation.